Let's look back on the life of Ginny Kelley, 100 years after she was born. She entered life as Virginia Mary Byrnes on Tuesday, September 6, 1921, the second daughter of Patrolman Bill Byrnes of the Milton Police Department and his wife, the former Annie Josephine Murphy. Her sister Alice was 2 years older. We don't know if the car in this 1926 photo, a Model T with a speedster conversion kit, was their first family car. Ginny, now in 3rd grade, attended public schools. Always a cat lover, she's shown here at age 14 at the family home at 3 Breck Street. Her high school classmates recalled her enchanting blue eyes, lost to the black and white photography of this photo at age 16. She graduated from Milton High in June 1939. Her 1921 age cohort would sacrifice more dead to the coming war than any other, including 4 of her high school classmates. But war wasn't yet on minds when she worked as a hostess later that month for a Kiwanis convention. A note to Burt Warren of Glendora, California. That girl you're staring at is only 18. Her dad's a cop, and he's a champion shot with a revolver. It's not clear when she started work as a clerk for U.S. Steel. This ID card was likely issued in response to security measures after Pearl Harbor. Among her duties was training new salesmen, all men, in the company's inventory system, a source of eye-rolling decades later while recalling her dimmer pupils. But she must have formed a higher opinion of this salesman, Jack Kelley. Sidelined from the war by the loss of his legs in a childhood accident, he was a star performer. The eldest of 5 children, John Francis Kelley was born July 6, 1916. Before joining U.S. Steel, he worked as a professional musician, mostly on tenor saxophone. What sort of man was Jack Kelley? Flip over this photo and we'll find out. The sort of man who saved a disabled vessel in Plymouth Harbor and never mentioned it to his children, leaving them to find out only now. Meanwhile, here's Ginny as a ball player. Good glove, good throw, and absolutely no stick whatsoever. After a romance that must have moved at glacial speed, Jack and Ginny tied the knot in May 1951, and if they seem happy, just check out their parents. His have gotten their 34-year-old son out of the house, and hers their 29-year-old daughter. They would move into a newly built home at 687 Greendale Avenue in Needham, Massachusetts, where they would live for half a century, and where Dad would try out a new camera with a viewfinder he hadn't quite mastered, unless he's more taken by his new house than his bride. Ginny would continue working for another 3 years, the likely cause of her departure revealed by her stylish maternity garb. The consequence of this disruption, Susan Marie Kelley, was born November 1954. Spending the New England winter cooped up with a newborn was a trial both survived, although thoughts of throwing Susie out in the snow were later recalled. And so a spring arrival was in order next time. In May 1957, Ron Kelley, that's R-O-H-N, a fine broth of a lad with an ancient Gaelic name in the words of the parish newsletter, began a lifetime of correcting misspellings. Ginny still had time to provide a little basic figure skating instruction to Susie, but she was going to need much more in the years ahead. The squad was rounded out in April 1960 with the arrival of Brian Robert Kelley, who would have been a shoo-in to win a Dick Cheney look-alike contest if anyone knew who Dick Cheney was in 1960. Ginny, once the star of her husband's home movies, was now relegated to the impossible task of assistant director, seen here herding the masses in the poorly reviewed 3 on a Trike. Apart from her own squad, she became Aunt Ginny to a phalanx of nieces and nephews, including Lee, Betty, Tommy, Brad, Carol, Jenny, Donnie, Dickie, and Gail, which provided an endless stream of christenings, first communions, and eventually weddings, as well as informal gatherings like this one. These events included outdoor dining, swimming, and other athletic endeavors, which gave Ginny the opportunity to rekindle her athletic career, partnered here with sister-in-law Franny. But why isn't she making any of the plays? Oh, that's why. And thanks, Mom. The winters were no less harsh as time passed, and if she thought being cooped up with one kid was bad, how about being literally trapped inside with 3? She was now fully engaged with raising 3 children, although she would return to work at Kramer Electronics from 1968 to 1979. Jack and Ginny's children grew to successful adulthood. The years of driving to skating practice and sitting in freezing rinks would pay off when Susie, partnered with Andrew Strukoff, represented our nation in the 1976 Winter Olympics. Susan and Andy, who later married, would then coach other skaters for 40 years. Ron would become an air traffic controller, spending most of his decades-long career at the FAA's Boston Center. Brian would earn 2 engineering degrees, and as a career Air Force officer, give his mother a few extra gray hairs flight testing the B-1 and C-17 aircraft. Jack and Ginny spent their later years together in the company of family, occasionally meeting with old workmates from U.S. Steel, and visiting their children. Ginny was by Jack's side as his health declined in the 1990s until his death in 2003. In 2004, she moved to a New Jersey retirement community to be near her daughter. Her sister Alice lived a floor above. In March 2008, Ginny Kelley passed away at age 86.